Welcome to another edition of Inside the War Room. Ryan Ray here, as always. And this episode is kind of interesting. I've been working on talking about this issue for some time. I'm not an expert on it. I'm very curious about it. There's a lot of stuff that's going on that's being unreported. And so my guest today is Silas Atefor, who has recommended me. He's actually pinch hitting for the person who is supposed to be here. And so we appreciate him stepping up and talking about this issue. Silas, how's it going today?
Very well, Ryan. Thank you for having me, and
Okay.
thank you for taking interest in the situation of our people.
Okay, yeah. So let me. I want to for the listeners. Whatever I say is going to be from a like I've seen it on Twitter. I'm trying to get my head around it. So very much from ignorance. So I won't get it right. So I want you to set up what is the issue we're talking about here, and why is it kind of hard to understand and follow the different parties and who the players are.
Thank you very much. To put it in perspective, it's actually a very long history because the story of Africa, where I come from, Cameroon, the way it's known right now, it's a very long history of colonialism and uh, of slavery, and all. It's a long history. So to put everything that is happening now in perspective, uh, it might one might want to go so far, but because there is a very pertinent issue right now with what we consider a genocide going on in current Cameroon, I would like to just summarize it in a way that someone can just fit in and then follow up from here. So actually, most people know Cameroon today as a bilingual country. That's There is an English speaking part and there is a French speaking part, but most people don't go to care to know how this country became bilingual. So actually, these were two countries that came together in an agreement following the United Nations recommendations after the Germans were defeated from the Cameroon that Germany owned, which was a very vast empire in Africa. So these countries, Africa was partitioned among the Allied powers who won Germany in Africa. So France took a part of what is considered Cameroon today, and the British had another section of what is considered English Cameroon. So they were all administered as separate territories of the United Nations, and these Allied powers were supposed to groom these nations for eventual independence. So Cameroon, the French part of Cameroon got its independence in 1960, and the English part of Cameroon got its independence in 1961 as another country. So upon United Nations recommendations that these countries could be better if they since Germany had administered a larger portion of that territory, and some kind of arrangement was done for a plebiscite to be held for the British Cameroons to come into a federation with the French Cameroon. So that is how these two entities came together. And the long and short of it all is that the compatibility since 1961, has not worked. And there's been agitation since then until now. But in 2016, the president of Cameroon, what is considered Cameroon today, who have been marginalizing the English-speaking part of Cameroon. And because the English part of current Cameroon today protested the regime, the regime declared some kind of war on this part of what is considered Cameroon today. So since 2016, there have been mass killing, and I think many war experts have described what is going on there as a genocide, and is the most underreported conflict in the world today, even more than Syria, as many might even not know. So there is a genocide going on right now since 2016 in Cameroon, where the French part of Cameroon, the English part of Cameroon is resisting the occupation, what we consider occupation of French Cameroon, because the agreements that were the terms of the agreement for these two countries to come together have been violated over and over again. So the British Cameroon, the part which was British Cameroon before, now decided that they don't want that union anymore. So they declared their independence in 2016, and then the French part of Cameroon rejected that independence, and there is a war going on currently as we speak.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm following along here. We have a geographic area we're calling Cameroon. Part of it is French-speaking Cameroon. Part of it is English-speaking Cameroon, or the Queen's English, I guess you would say, not American.
Yes.
And there is a tension between these two parts of this one country, but there's two bilingual groups in there. Now, do these groups have is the main characteristic that one speaks English and one speaks French, or is there other tribal things involved, or is there history that predates the 1960s that would put these two groups at conflict, or is it just strictly that they've kind of come up through two different countries that colonized them and they just have different beliefs? Why is there such animosity? Maybe they should have never been joined together as a country. I'm curious.
Yeah, absolutely. They shouldn't have ever been joined together in the first place. But this is the main the main player behind all of this is, to our understanding, is France. From the get-go, France have always wanted the oil that is on the part of the British part. And so when the British were not like after the win of independence blew over Africa, the British did not want to continue to administer territories. So, but France, who relies so much on resources from Africa, was interested in getting more regions where I'm looking for more ways to continue to get resources to fuel its own economy. So it is rumored that France reached some kind of agreement with the British to allow them use the French territory now to marginalize the English part in order to get access into the oil wells of the English part. So that is the bottom line of why all of this fighting is going on at the end of the day. So France would do anything to avoid this breakaway from the normal current construct of what is Cameroon.
So you're saying that the current French-speaking portion of Cameroon is being backed by the government of France still?
Absolutely.
And so what evidence for people who are going, that sounds weird, like what would you point to that we could say, okay, this makes it pretty clear that the current French regime is supporting this effort?
I wish I had the chance to I might send you some videos later, which your viewers might want to watch. I'm happy to send some of that to you. But the current fighting that is going on, there was just a video that came up last week with with soldiers fighting alongside the Cameroon army with the French flag on their uniforms. So that is like one big clear evidence that France is backing Cameroon. And there is what France signed with all its colonial countries in Africa, what they call the Accord de Coopération. That is how they call it in French. Like, it's a pact that in case any of these colonial territories are engaged in any kind of military operations, France will lead. So that you will find this in all French territories currently in Africa. That is why France has this much influence over all the different French former colonies. So it's not just particular with Cameroon, but France is involved in every other former French colony in Africa. Yes. So basically, that is how France operates.
Okay. So right. So you're saying that, and yeah, please, if you send those to me, I'd be happy to share those around. So would love to get those. But you're saying essentially that, if you're seeing a conflict between the Southern Cameroons and the Northern Cameroons, the French and the English,
French Cameroons,
French Cameroons, you're going to see these uniforms that with France logos, flags, and
absolutely.
So if France, the country, were to pull out today, Would that change the tension, or would there still be the tension between the Southern Cameroons and the French Cameroons? So does it go beyond just the French influence?
Now, I can't predict what will immediately happen if France were to just pull out today. But this is what I would say. I will just give you the feeling of the Southern Cameroonians at the moment. Uh, Using French Cameroon to occupy Southern Cameroons, as I put it, over 30,000 Southern Cameroonians have died, killed by the French Cameroon army, the French Cameroon army. So I can immediately say that if France were to pull out today, Southern Cameroonians will just be immediately happy to go out there and hawk French Cameroonians as if nothing happened. So what Southern Cameroonians are asking today is for the declared independence in the declared their independence again in 2017, and since then they have been building a system for their own people. So it is similar to what happened, almost like what happened in Sudan, where there has to be this breakaway. The Southern Cameroonians are tired of the federation that was agreed upon but never respected by the French Cameroon, by French Cameroon. And even the optics of the federation that was agreed upon was really complicated, because then we had two countries, the Southern Cameroons and the French Cameroon, which was called La République du Cameroun. So this accord for a federation, the two parliaments were supposed to ratify that agreement for a federation to hold. But the Southern Cameroon Parliament never ratified that agreement. But yet, at that time, the British were still the one controlling the police force and everything. So they moved out of Cameroon. What we are told from forefathers that the British had this agreement with the French, and the France actually gave the British some money to allow them to move into the Southern Cameroons through French Cameroon. So immediately after the British left, French Cameroon forces immediately occupied Southern Cameroons as of 1961 till now. So at that time, the Southern Cameroon Parliament, even the fact that they had not ratified that agreement, the federation was forced on the people of the Southern Cameroons, which the French Cameroon later now canceled the federation and adopted a unitary system of government, and now started marginalizing the English speakers from all works of life in their own country.
So you've used the word genocide a few times, and I've seen some pictures on Twitter um, that are heartbreaking. They're terrible. They're disturbing. Um, this is, from what I've seen, this not just there are people that are being shot, which is terrible, but there's also, it looks like bombs or rockets or grenades. Or I don't know what the word is, but
It's a full-blown war.
yes, it's a full blown war. So. Maybe describe some of what it's like on the ground right now.
Okay. Right now you have the Cameroon military going into neighborhoods in the southern Cameroons. They burn down houses. They arbitrarily arrest civilians and jail them. Currently, over 5,000 southern Cameroonians are in Cameroon jails for no reason, just because they believe that you're either supporting the state of Southern Cameroon statehood. If you're supporting a Southern Cameroon statehood, that is automatically a crime for the Cameroon government. They are going around in armored cars, just shooting those who come out on the street, or others who have now picked up arms due to the killing, and are just killing everybody. like I mentioned earlier, that over 30,000 Southern Cameroonians have died since 2016 from this war, and mothers have been burnt alive in their houses, and over 500 villages, I mean entire villages, have been erased with fire by the Cameroon military. All of this is documented. There's even BBC reports, Reuters, all of this news medias have also documented this, and they continue to do so. And the current situation have degenerated also to a point where you have a lot of criminals who also terrorize the local population because uh, there is insecurity, a lack of food, and healthcare. All of this is just at its worst. So the situation there is really, really terrible.
Yeah, you talk about people being burned. I mean, that was the video. That was a picture of, I don't know, it was a building that had been bombed or something. And there's a baby. I have 4 kids. My youngest is 2. I got a 5-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 13-year-old.
Yes.
The baby, I'm gonna say, was closest to my 2-year-old. It could be. It's hard to tell, and it was charred. And there was a man just holding the baby, just weep.
Yes.
And I saw that. And I thought, what in the
Yes.
world is going on here, and why is no one talking about this?
So I know the picture you're talking about. Actually, the baby was kind of if it was a goat that was roasted. If you can remember, it was a rocket that was shot into someone's house, and because everyone ran away, the baby could not run away, and that is what happened.
And so
Terrible.
it just got left behind.
Yes, the baby just got left behind.
Mm.
There is another baby who, when the military came, because each time the military come into a neighborhood, everyone runs into the bush, and there is this story of also widely reported, and it's probably you've seen it on Twitter. Baby Mata, who got 11 bullets. She was just 2 months old. She got 11 bullets from the military. These are the kinds of atrocities that uh, uh, the Southern Cameroonians continue to experience in the midst of this conflict.
So in that case, someone might hear that and go, "Okay, listen, it's terrible." Play the devil's advocate here. It's terrible, but maybe there were bad people in that house and they were shooting a rocket over there to kill the bad people. Like, how for the person who is not familiar with this, what would you say to them who are a little bit skeptical? Go, well, obviously the French must have a good reason for bombing these people, for killing these people. Yes, it's sad, but there's got to be some justification for this.
The justification, okay, now, like I mentioned earlier, that there are groups of Southern Cameroonians who, let me actually just in 2016, all of this started as a widespread protest against the peaceful protest against the regime. So this protest went on for several weeks and months, where the Cameroon government shut down the internet uh, just for the English speaking part, shut down the internet, and then went in and committed lots of atrocities. So after that peaceful protest, which all of those videos and pictures are all online, and the killings at that time, some groups of Southern Cameroonians now also started fighting the military with all in any way that they could, simply just holding them and seizing their weapons, using it against them, and then continued like that. And it's gone now to a point over these 5 years, these armed groups are getting even stronger. So it's a full-blown war now over there. So when the military come looking for, they will claim that they are looking for those armed groups, but now they blanket every civilian in that area and say, okay, because an armed group, this village harbors an armed group, everybody in that village is an accomplice. So they kill everybody that they meet. So that mode of operation is why you see that indiscriminate killings and they show no remorse for it. And we are saying that is not right.
I'm curious your thoughts on this. Let's bring it to America for a second. You mentioned a couple things here. One, that the Southern Cameroons is illegal now to stand or support an independent breakaway government to start their own,
Yeah.
separate nation. That's interesting because in the U.S., if you said, "Hey, we want to break off," I'm picking a state here, Washington, and make it its own state, the U.S. people would be very concerned, and they might want to send the government in. Maybe talk to the U.S. side of the audience and say, in the U.S., you're supposed to have freedom of speech, and it's important because of stuff like this, where these ideas, if you don't at least allow them to be articulated and to be vetted, this is where things can go. I'm curious your perspective on that.
Uh, yes, one thing, like I said, that the history of this territory is a very complex one, which dates quite a while back. Uh, may I just let your viewers also know that the United States voted for the independence of the Southern Cameroon as a country back in April of 1961. We have the result of that vote there online, and anyone can look it up. Look at the independent vote of the Southern Cameroon. The United States voted for that independence. So as a country, what the people of the Southern Cameroons don't want is for another a country like French Cameroon, even in a federation, just like we have here in the United States. The federal government cannot just run the different states the way the federal government wants, because every state also have their different administrative bodies. So, but that is not the case with the federation that was agreed upon back in the 1960s. So, for Americans who are looking at this, there is nothing like freedom of speech. First of all, in Cameroon, they have a president, President Paul Biya, who has been in power for about 42 years now. Yes, so he is
Four two. Like,
4-2.
he's old. He's been president longer than I've been alive. I'm 36, so
You were not born when he was when he was president. So, and he's basically everything there. He's the judiciary. He's the legislative. So every other organ of government that doesn't work if he doesn't say so. So we are basically talking about a dictator. He's 89 years old and just there running this government for a few individuals at the behest of France. Even French Cameroonians too will also agree with you that they will tell you that they know France is the one running their country. It's just that they are also as powerless as they're as powerless as us, but they are not doing anything about it. That is the problem.
So, I was doing a search here on Twitter, and I was trying to figure out the Twitter hashtag. I don't even remember how I found this. This is what's kind of frustrating. Maybe there was a big movement, but the hashtag I'm using right now is Southern Cameroons with an S. And if
Yes.
you just go to the latest, don't do top. Top's fine, but latest, you can kind of scroll back and you will see people being forced to roll in the mud, dead bodies, funerals, just a lot of tragic stuff. I'm trying to find the tweet of the poor child who was killed. So that our listeners can kind of take a look at what we're talking about here. But how is this impacting? This is from 1961. Obviously, is what this is kind of the long view, but the short view is 2016, 2017, which we're almost to 2022 now, right? So
Absolutely.
you're talking about 6 years of war, potential genocide, to use your word there. How are the people of Southern Cameroon coping with this? Because living in kind of a destabilized society has to be very tough.
Thank you, Ryan. All the horrors of war with the people of the Southern Cameroons today. The healthcare system is completely absent. Economy is barely functional. Over a million people are displaced. and the educational the schools have been operational. Uh, Patches of schools operate in certain places where the war is not intense, but more than 700,000 students are no more going to school since 2016. So you can imagine this kind of impacts. Hospitals not working. To even add to that, the Doctors Without Borders that was trying to help the local people during this conflict to give them some kind of health care. The French Cameroon government banned the Doctors Without Borders and kicked them out of the conflict zone. So they are no more there to give the little health care that the people could benefit from. And the Doctors Without Borders, they have been crying even on social media,
Mm.
asking for the international community to intervene and maybe say a word to the Cameroon government to let them continue to help the people, because it is actually devastating that the people cannot have clean water, they cannot have food, they don't have medications or any kind of treatment. Even as all of the horrible videos and pictures that you see, those individuals cannot even get treatment, even from a non-governmental organization like the Doctors Without Borders. That is how bad the French Cameroon government want to punish the people of the southern Cameroon.
What about the surrounding neighboring countries? What is their role in this, if any?
Uh, it is a very sad situation that African leaders today, uh, we would say, care very little about their people. Nigeria is next door, and it's like the biggest country in Africa. Uh, Back in 1961, the UN actually gave the choice whether Southern Cameroonians should uh, have a federation with Nigeria or have a federation with Cameroon. And the politics of that time ended up that French Cameroon and Southern should have that federation. Uh, Nigeria is a very big player in all of this. The Southern Cameroonian leadership that actually took refuge in Nigeria uh, after the French Cameroon government was chasing them out of Southern Cameroon. They took refuge in Nigeria and actually were refugees in Nigeria for a time being. And Nigeria, the Nigerian president, rounded them up and sent them to French Cameroon, and they've been given life sentences, and they are currently in jail in French Cameroon. That is when you ask about neighboring countries, how what is their feeling, but the people of Nigeria are actually very sympathetic to what is happening to the Southern Cameroons. The Currently about 60,000 Southern Cameroonians are refugees in Nigeria. The United Nations takes care of them, but the help that they get mostly is from the local population, who most of them identify with Southern Cameroonians because they speak English and we speak English. So they are more sympathetic. The people are more sympathetic, but the Nigerian government is actually just in cohorts with Paul Biya's government of Cameroon. So basically, nothing can move in the favor of resolving this conflict if Nigerian government is still on the side of Cameroon.
So I'm curious about China, because China's all over Africa and a lot of stance on China. Does China have any influence or role, good, bad, or indifferent, in what's going on here?
Absolutely, China does, but not politically. The way China operates is China is mostly economic, and then they don't care what happens on the ground. But China has been funding, giving Cameroon lots of money to prosecute this war, because without which they will not be able to do so. So China has been giving Cameroon lots of loans. These loans, China is going to get them back from Cameroon one way or the other. So that is the hand of China in all of this. Cameroon is able to sustain this war going on because countries like China are ready to give Cameroon those loans in exchange for other resources within the territory. Even when, for human rights abuse reasons, other countries were putting some kind of embargo on Cameroon. If Donald Trump stopped Cameroon from a trade benefit that Cameroon was getting from America because of this conflict. The military, U.S. military used to train the Cameroon military, and Donald Trump had stopped that as well, hoping that other countries will follow and make Cameroon to realize that, okay, this what you're doing is not right. So those are some of the little efforts that were done at the time last year. Is it just before Trump left office that he did some of these gestures, which I really applaud, because if this kind of pressure continues to be put on the government, and they know that America, a powerful country like America, is involved. We have been calling for a ceasefire and for talks to begin to see how this can actually be resolved. But the Cameroon government is adamant, and they just want to keep on killing.
So I'm going to say what for folks who are listening that are involved in this. I obviously can't do a podcast on this subject every week, but I have a YouTube channel that I can do all the content I want that's outside of this podcast. But I want to talk about this as much as possible. So if you're listening and you have a story to tell from South Cameroon, I'd love to bring you on and record and hear, because this is something that it's so easy to start getting people to talk about it on the U.S. side of things. It costs me nothing, right? I'm not a fear of no one from Cameroon, no one from the French side of Cameroon is going to mess with me, right? Because I'm in the U.S. So it costs me nothing, and yet it's a huge, very important thing that people in the U.S. need to be made aware of. So that's what I want to do, is offer to the people of Cameroon. I would be happy to talk to them, interview them, get their story out as much as I possibly can. What can the average person do? Is it call their congressman, call their senator? Is it, what just tweet about it? I mean, what, from your perspective, because when you hear stuff like this, and I found while we're talking a lot of these pictures, which are disturbing. I will link to those in the show notes. If you want to go see them, just beware. It's brutal stuff. But when you see this, you go, God, what can I do? So for me, I have a media platform. It's not large, but it's small, but I can reach people. So I want to do that. People who don't do media, average Joe, what can they do? What would you advise them? Because when you see this, you want to do something.
Thank you very much, Ryan. I think there are a lot of things that Americans can do, and one of them is exactly what you are doing, which I really, really applaud. This is a story that in a normal day could be a headline for every news media, given the constant atrocities that occur there on a daily basis. But it's so underreported that many medias, even CNN, would once in a while put something on the news bar. Maybe after 5 months, they'll put something on the news bar, and that is it. But I'm really, really grateful that you took interest in this story, and that is hopefully other bloggers, media personalities who can take this story and put it out there will be a great favor that you will be doing to the people of the Southern Cameroons. You will be stopping a genocide. We're talking about 30,000 dead today, and there is no signs of this conflict ending anytime soon. So if we don't do something, any little thing that you do right now, like what you just did, Ryan, is an effort to stop one more life from being lost. So this is one thing that people can do. The United States they have passed 2 resolutions on this conflict. The resolution 358, which was introduced by Representative Karen Bass, and also a Senate resolution. Is it 684? I need a correction on that if I'm wrong. It's resolution 684. So they're actually the United States Congress is well aware of this situation. Now, most of the times, Congress people will put pressure on the executive to do something, or even take further actions if the voters or the Americans could call them up and say, hey, can you get involved in what is happening in Cameroon? People are dying. This is the situation. I need you to act. I need Congress to act on the situation in Cameroon. So I think if anyone who is listening wants to help, they can call their Congress people and ask them if they are aware about the current ongoing genocide in Cameroon. We see it as a genocide. People are a group of people targeted because of who they are and just being killed in this kind of way. So it is a genocide, and if anyone can let their Congress men and women to hold Cameroon accountable for this death, that will be a great step. And we would love to come on programs like this and share our thoughts every time, that because it's a developing story. Every day things happen. Many other Southern Cameroonians would love to come on like this and talk, and we are open to come like this and talk and interact with other local communities, organizations who might want to help, even to support either refugees in Nigeria, because like I said, we have 60,000 Southern Cameroonians who are currently refugees in Nigeria. And there's lots of internally displaced people within the territory in the bushes because they are running away under serious conditions that they cannot take care of themselves. People are dying from the war, and they're also dying from the hardship caused by the war. So any kind of help that we can get, but most of it is calling on the international community and government to intervene. We want a ceasefire and a situation where both parties, the French Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons, can sit and talk this over.
Yeah, and this is an issue. If you're Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. Like we listen. I don't understand all the nuances of what's going on here. I know the pictures are horrific, and we've got to stop the bloodshed. That's where things have to stop. People have to calm down. And I can't get involved. I'm not being called in to handle negotiations. I'm not being called. But you have a voice, and you can use it. And the voice is
absolutely.
I will link to some of these pictures in the show notes. So you can see they're horrific. They're terrible. We need this to stop. This needs to stop, and it needs to stop today. It needs to stop a long time ago. It needs to stop today. So use your voice. I encourage you. Talk to your congressman, your senator. Tweet about it. Make it. Here's the thing that Americans don't really realize. From the Cameroon side, I'm going to speak here for what I think their position is. They want this to be talked about. It's not being talked about. You need to make this part of normal conversation. Now, that sounds weird because it's a genocide and it's horrific and there's bad things going on. But the fact that it's not being talked about means that you can't put pressure on people, right? So if you think about whatever issue that's hot button in the U.S. right now, it's being talked about, which means public sentiment can sway and put pressure on someone. Whereas this issue, no one's talking about it, so you can't put pressure on no one. So you have to normalize this, and not normalize it like as in it's okay. You have to normalize it in the sense of a lot of people are talking about it. Then when they're talking about it, in this case, it should be easy to push public sentiment a certain way, but you can then do it as a collective. And so we have to get to that point with this issue. So thank you for coming on. This has been insightful, helps me kind of understand the dynamics a little bit better. As I said, I'm not an expert on this at all. I've seen the pictures and they're terrible. So we've been working on this for some time. You stepped up and pinch hit for us, so I really appreciate that. And any final words before we get out of here?
Thank you again, Ryan. If I may just say one last thing, recently we talk so much here about the border crisis here with a lot of immigrants coming in through the Mexican border and all of that. Lately, a lot of Cameroonians have been using that route too to get here, running away from this conflict, because so many, they would just round up Southern Cameroonians, kill them, or jail them. So a lot of people are coming in from Cameroon through that border too, I must acknowledge. And if we talk about some of these problems and we don't understand the root causes, we might talk about it, and we might not be able to resolve it. To be honest, if that crisis were to be resolved today, you will have a lot of people who are coming in through that way from Cameroon. You would not see them. So some of these things really need to be addressed in a way that people understand it. And it is gradually becoming an American problem. In the last, before 2016, I was not getting Cameroonians coming in from Mexico. But I'm surprised today to see that 100 Cameroonians will come in through Mexico, and they are being held at the border. We get this information. They start calling us, oh, we need help. Can you find us a lawyer and all of this? But it wasn't like this before. So this is a new thing that is actually also making me curious. I really want to thank you, Ryan, for this opportunity, and every American listening. My last word would just be to beg and all. It is a genocide, and we need people to talk about it. It it gets worse when people don't talk about it because the perpetrators think no one is aware. So if CNN could report something like this for 3 days in a row, trust me, every other nation will be asking Cameroon, why are you, what is going on? But because the big medias will really not take this as an issue, it's people are being killed and it's swept under the carpet. So all we need right now is just exposure to all what is happening, like what Ryan is doing right now. Tweet about it. Hashtag stop genocide in Southern Cameroon. Hashtag stop genocide in Southern Cameroon. It's a hashtag that we're currently using on Twitter. We are also using the hashtag justice for Naira 10. Naira 10 are the Southern Cameroonian leaders who were arrested in Nigeria and sent to Cameroon and currently serving life sentences. These hashtags get us the attention, some of the attention that we need, and anyone can do that on Twitter. Call their Congress people and reach out to us for more information. We are willing to even come to any organization and speak about this, schools, wherever, just to give some perspective and information to people who want to know more. I really thank you for this, Ryan, and I hope I could be back another time.
Yeah, this is wonderful. And as I said, so this will be running on Inside the War Room podcast. So please share this to all your friends so they can listen. And then the War Room Media YouTube channel, I'm going to devote a section. So if they want to come on, we can just run through and do as many interviews as time allows, just to put them there so they can kind of stack up. And so then people, if they want to come and follow along, we'll just have a section on the YouTube channel for people to come and watch what's going on there. And then I think that would be the best use of that platform, because then you can make a playlist and then it's just interview after interview after interview. And so we will do our part. And to the listeners, you know, as we said, talk about it, get out there, realize we're not going to stop this problem tomorrow. There's not enough political will, and that's tragic and it's sad, but it's also the reality. When you go through a campaign, you have to kind of build the momentum. So you want to stop today, but unfortunately, it's just barring a miracle. It's not, but you have to start today. And this conversation hopefully is part of that. Please go do your part. Silas, thank you so much. And we look forward to following the story and hopefully doing what little we can to help stop the genocide.
Thank you for having me.